Hello class, this is Mr. Broussard and I'm sending you this video for the fourth and final week of our summer July 2020 Composition 1 course, and I hope you are all doing well. Believe it or not, you're about done with the class. However, having said that, that doesn't mean slack off. In particular, of all weeks, do not slack off this week because you still have two major, and I said major works still left to deal with within just this week. You still have one more journal that is due, and that'll be due basically tonight, so make sure you get it done. But the major work that you will have is your final exam from the course, as well as your last essay, which will be a research argumentative essay of at least 1,300 words. And let me be abundantly clear, these are two completely separate assignments. You actually have 3 total assignments that you must do. The journal, which is just traditional, at least 2 paragraphs, at least at the bottom of page 1. You have the argumentative research essay that needs to be at least 1,300 words. The topic is of your choosing, but my advice with this topic, as has been with most of the topics when you've had the choice of what they would be, is to choose something that you feel passionately about, but in particular with this essay, that you can also argue logic, facts, and reasoning, and in particular the use of sourced material to back up the ideas that you are promoting. Whereas on your first, the illustrative essay, that was more about personal experiences and how that influenced you. In the second one, it was similar to that, but it was more along the lines of telling it more in a story form than just instead of listing the events as they were. Well, in this one, it's more, the importance is it's argumentative, and let me be abundantly clear on what that is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't. Argumentation does not mean what you think it may mean or what you see it meaning on television news and on Facebook and Twitter or most social media, and as you made the other side mad. No, that is not what true argumentation is. In fact, that is quite the opposite. And in many cases, in doing so, you lapse into the logical fallacies that you read about last week. And let me be abundantly clear, if you lapse into any of those logical fallacies on the argumentative essay, you will fail it. That's as simple as I can put it. It will be a 0 if you ever lapse into logical fallacies. If you lapse at any of the ones mentioned, some of the ones that weren't mentioned, refresh yourself. If you read it but didn't, read it as in depth, refresh yourself on what those logical fallacies are and why. More importantly, why you should avoid the logical fallacies. Do not lapse in those logical fallacies on this essay, or you will fail it with a 0. Because true argumentation is about having a reason behind feeling something, but that is not just because you feel it, or because some parent told you, or a teacher told you, or a religious figure told you, or some other mentor told you. It was because, yeah, I have these beliefs, but then I can actually back up these beliefs with source material, people who are learned in the areas in which you're dealing with, and then having that source material from learned scholars. Note how I said learned scholars, not just random people on the internet, but people who are knowledgeable in the areas in which you're dealing with. You can then back up your own thoughts and ideas that you had already, but backing it up with people who have more cachet than, quite frankly, you do. But that gives you strength, more strength within the arguments you have. Not just that you have them, not that you communicate them as clearly and as authoritatively as you want, though you, of course, should always do that. But then you have the source material that backs you up with it. So there's so much that's involved within the argumentative essay. That's why you have what you do have to read for this week, and the assignments is what they go on to. Chapter 12, supporting a position with sources, pages 222 to 255. That is the argumentative rhetorical mode. So you learn not only about how to utilize the rhetorical mode, but then how to support that position with sources, and utilizing the chapters you've already read dealing with how to utilize research and source material, and some more chapters that are assigned to you. Chapter 34, read integrating sources, page 687 to 699. Also read chapter 35, writing your research paper, which is page 700 to 706. So combine those 2 chapters with the chapters you read prior that had to deal with sourcing and research, plus chapter 12, supporting a position with sources, which is basically teaching you the argumentative rhetorical mode, plus how to back up those arguments with the source material, and give me at least 1,300 words I definitely have the 5 paragraphs there, but at least 1,300 words, and it must be done in proper APA style documentation and sources and citing. Now you may have read on the thing, APA style for documenting sources off Purdue OWL, posted under announcements. Starting last semester, I had to post the APA style for documenting sources from Purdue OWL, and the reason is the prior semester, in fact, in the middle of that semester, in October of last year, the APA, for the first time in over a decade, decided to change its formatting. Traditionally, for the last decade, people have learned under what was called APA 6th edition. Well, now the APA has come out with APA 7. In fact, I'll show you right now. The reason for the change was to be more in tune and in line with a lot of the more technological sourcing that is more ready now than even a decade or so ago. MLA Premix did the same thing as well a few years ago when it changed from MLA 7 to MLA 8. So these changes are meaningful. APA is even less likely to change than MLA, so the fact that it did change is rare. Just to let you know, when it comes to this essay, I will allow you to do either APA 6 or APA 7. The reason is this. This is the textbook that you should have had. Hopefully you do have it. You can use the chapter that deals with APA, just so you know. Sure, I'll tell you that correct. There is an APA chapter in it, but the reason I'm saying, giving you some leeway is, of course, this textbook has APA 6, the older version of APA. I have the right thing here. I used to have all this down, but of course I took it out because, well, no real reason to have it anymore due to the fact that this textbook is now too old considering the style of what it's used. Let me make sure. All right, APA is still under Chapter 37. I should know this. I've taught this enough time. But Chapter 37 is where APA is, but it's APA 6. APA 6. Now, when you go to Purdue OWL, what you have in the link that I've sent you is also APA 6. But if you go to the freshest version of Purdue OWL, you might get APA 7, and that's perfectly fine. I will allow you to use either APA 6 as a textbook or online, or APA 7 also can be found online. And the reason I'm giving this leeway, and you will be the last class that gets it, is because this is the new textbook for the Comp 1 course that we start using mid-August. So this has the updated with APA 7. Yours doesn't. So what I decided to do is give you the freedom and leeway to use one or the other. I'll go ahead and tell you right now. The reason I would say use the other is this. If you go to Microsoft Word, you will notice that there's a template under Microsoft Word that you can use. So you get into Word. I'll go ahead and scroll. Word, I have Word 16 on this computer. And then what you do is in that initial screen where it says blank document, you would type in search for online templates and then type in APA. By that point, it should show up and hit enter. With APA Style Report 6th edition, APA Style paper, and the classic double space. What you would do is click the APA Style Report 6th edition and use that as your template. So instead of having to do all this manually, which is quite difficult, you can use that template. Just take out the instructions and instead fill in the information that you need to be there for the instructions. So. All right. Just so you know, I'm going to stop this video and send a new one in a little bit because there's a technical thing like here.